Hello everyone, welcome to another session of Chess 333 with Adrian Winter Atwell. Last time we spoke about something easy, the Scholar's Checkmate, the 4-move Checkmate, very easy. Today we're going to look at something more complex in our first session of the opening and games. And we're going to be taking a look at the Scotch Gambit. And we're going to look at games that I played using this opening weapon. So try to learn as much as possible, pay attention, and let's see if you could use this also in your games. This opening, however, could work against anyone. You just have to try it and see how it goes. So let's get started. This is a game that I was playing against a player called Lisandrito. That was his name on the chess. I will leave the link for this game in the description of the video. So let's get started. So the Scotch Gambit starts after the move e4. My opponent played e5, knight f3, knight c6, pawn to d4, pawn takes, and bishop c4. So this is the start of the Scotch Gambit. But the Scotch Gambit that I bring today is with the idea of playing the move knight to g5. It's a very aggressive idea, but I like it, and it's good. It's good. So now my opponent played knight f6, which is a good move, and I play the move knight g5, attacking the pawn on f7. My opponent now plays d5, which is the correct move. I played pawn takes, and here at this point, my opponent played knight takes d5, which is a mistake. Now, how to take advantage of this mistake? Well, I played castle, and now my opponent is having problem with his king. A lot of problems with his king. So now he played the move bishop to e7, getting ready to castle, attacking my knight, and now I played knight takes f7. Excellent move. I'm attacking the queen, I am attacking the rook, and my opponent has to do something about this. Now, at this point, my opponent played king takes knight, and now I play queen to f3, creating a double attack, attacking the king and attacking his knight. It's a lot of pieces attacking that knight, well, my queen and my bishop. My opponent now plays the move king to defend the knight, and I play the move rook to e1, attacking the king that is in the middle of the board. He played knight to block the check. Now I play queen to e4, threatening to capture the knight. He plays bishop, defending the knight, and now I play the move pawn to f4. Since the knight is pinned and cannot move, I just attack it with a pawn. My opponent plays pawn to c6 to defend his other knight, and I capture this knight on e5. My opponent now plays bishop to g5, asking for a trade of bishop, maybe to bring the queen into the game, but I realized that here I could create a double attack. So I play now queen to g4, check, attacking the king, attacking the bishop. He moves the king, and I was wondering here if I should just capture this bishop with my queen and just win the piece, or if I should look for something better. So I play the move pawn to e6, attacking the king with a check, and my idea is to capture his bishop with my bishop so I could continue with the attack. He plays king back, and now I capture with my bishop. My opponent plays queen to b6, and I decided to also eliminate the knight so my opponent will not have many pieces playing on the board. He took my bishop, and I developed my knight. With this now I have a big advantage, but my opponent continues to play. Here he plays pawn to d3, creating a discover check against my king. See? Discover check against my king. So here now I play the move bishop to e3, blocking the check. He plays queen takes b2, and I play the winning move bishop to d4, creating the threat of checkmate, attacking his queen, and here my opponent resigned. So this was a very good game, very tactical, a nice model game on the Scotch Gambit with knight g5. So let's take a look at another game with the same gambit, the same idea. Okay, so are you ready for game two? Ha, because I'm excited about this game. Take a look at this one. Same Scotch Gambit, same knight g5 idea. Let's see how this one goes. All right, so the game is started with the move e4, e5. Now notice my opponent now is called Russo on Lee Chess. His rating is 2200. I also will leave the link of this game so you could look at it on the chess. And let's see how this one went. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, pawn to d4, Scotch game, bishop c4, Scotch gambit. Now my opponent plays knight f6, which is one of the most common moves here, one of the best moves. I played again, guess what? Knight g5, attacking the pawn on f7. My opponent in this case used a different defense. He played now the move knight to e5. In this way, he protects his pawn with his knight and at the same time attacks my bishop. So now I played bishop back. Why not? He played h6, kicking my knight, so my knight will just go away. But I played f4, attacking his own knight. If his knight moves, then I will capture that pawn on f7. So now my opponent captured my knight. I also took his knight. He captured on e4. I captured on d4. He now plays knight c5 because I wanted to take that knight, of course, if he left it yet. And I play knight to c3. He takes my bishop. I capture his knight. And now my opponent plays the move bishop to e7. Now notice that here my opponent was well prepared against the Scotch Gambit. The game is now equal. Does that mean that I will stop playing the Scotch Gambit? No. The opening was equal, but notice both of our kings are still in the middle of the board, in the center of the board, and there's still a lot of moves to be played. Bishop e3, developing my last piece. He plays pawn to b6, looking at the same idea. This is a bad move, but I didn't really capitalize on it immediately. I played castle, making sure I finish my development, and my opponent played bishop to b7. Everything appears to be normal here. However, I played an attacking move to see what will my opponent do. I played pawn to e6. With this move, I attack this pawn, and attack the pawn on g7. So at this point, my opponent played the move pawn takes, which is a mistake. F takes e6 was definitely a mistake. He should have perhaps moved the king to the side. But now I capture the pawn on g7, attacking the rook. His idea, of course, was that if I take this pawn, he will play bishop to f6, defending the rook, and everything will appear to be okay. However, the problem with this move is that after I play the move queen to g6 check, he will end up definitely in trouble. In this position, black is already in a losing position. He played king to f8, and now came the winning move. Can you guess what was the winning move? I guess it's easy. Rook to f1. With the move rook to f1, I attack the bishop. The bishop cannot be protected, so my opponent resigned. So this is the second game of the Scotch Gambit. Let's get ready for the third game because we have other things to look at as well. So let's go to the third game now. Okay, so let's go with game 3. In this case, I'm playing against a friend actually called Kafra. And let's see how this game went. So I started with the move again. e4. My opponent plays e5. I played knight to f3. Knight to c6 played my opponent. Pawn to d4. Scotch game. bishop to c4, Scotch Gambit. Now my opponent plays knight f6, again, one of the best moves, if not the best move against this gambit. And I play, guess what? Knight g5, again, of course, the Scotch Gambit with the idea of knight g5. Now my opponent plays the move d5, correct, I capture, and he goes with the move knight to a5, attacking my bishop. Here I wondered what to play, so I decided to go with queen takes d4, capturing this pawn. He took my bishop, and I captured his knight. Now, already notice, as it happens with the Scotch Gambit, black seems to just equalize. The position seems to be just equal, no problem. However, the game continues. My opponent captured with the queen, asking for a queen trade, but I do not want to exchange any queens. So I play the move queen to e2, checking my opponent's king. He blocked with the bishop, and now I castle. Simple. Trying to get my pieces developed as soon as possible. My opponent played h6, attacking my knight, and I played now knight to c3, attacking his queen. He played queen to c6, which is actually a bad move. Now I play rook e1, threatening checkmate. If I capture the bishop on e7, that will be checkmate. So my opponent castled. He castled, I captured the bishop, and my opponent took the knight. Notice here that my opponent cannot play rook here, trying to attack my queen and then try to win my rook, because my queen will capture on f7 and he will just lose more material. So in the game, my opponent played, of course, pawn takes a knight, and I played bishop takes knight. Bishop takes pawn, sorry. Now, my opponent plays here knight to d5, and this is a bad move. My opponent wants to exchange pieces, so of course he doesn't want me to capture on f6 and double his pawns, but this is a bad move because this will lead to a lot of trouble. I play now knight takes knight, play queen takes, and I play rook to d1. Now all of my pieces are playing, the queen, the bishop, and the two rooks. He took my pawn on a2, and now it is white to play and win. Can you find the combination? Can you? Well, it's not all that difficult, but I hope you did. Queen takes rook. Brilliant. Just sacrificing the queen for the rook, and my opponent resigned on the spot. Well, the idea is that, of course, if he takes my queen, then rook to the 8 is just checkmate. And if he moves away, then notice I'm a whole rook up. So I'm totally winning this game for sure. Well, this was game 3 of Chess 333. So now it's time to learn about tactics and endgames. So let's go. Okay, now let's start with chess tactics. And today's mating pattern or today's tactic will be the Anastasia's checkmate. So the Anastasia checkmate is when a knight covers the two escaping squares of the king, and we deliver the checkmate with a rook or with a queen. In this case, of course, it will be easy for you. The move is rook to h4. And with this move, rook to h4, white delivers checkmate and the game is over. Now, let's take a look at other games coming from the same idea and see if you can find this checkmate. Memorize this pattern, memorize this idea, because you will need it in the other positions. Let's go. Okay, so now you have to find the same checkmate, the same idea of the Anastasia checkmate, but in this position. This is checkmate in 2 moves. White to play checkmate in 2 moves. Can you find it? I'll give you 10 seconds. Okay, I hope you did, because this is actually easy. The move is knight e7 check, Start with 97, check. And then after the king moves, we play the move rook to h5, checkmate, and game is over. Let's take a look at the next example and see if you can solve that one as well. And here is the final tactical position. Same checkmate, same pattern, same idea. Can you find it? White to play checkmate. In this case, in 3 moves. Can you find checkmate in 3 moves? Again, I will give you 10 seconds. Okay, I hope you did. If you haven't found it yet, you could pause the video, keep searching, and then come back for the answer. But let's go for those who found it in 10 seconds. The first move is knight to e7. Knight to e7, checking the king. The king has to move. And now, how do I finish this? Well, I have to open the h file. Queen sacrifice. Sacrificing my queen. King has to take. Notice how the knight is covering the 2 escaping squares of the king. And now comes the rook. Rook to h3. And that is it. Checkmate. Game is over. Now that we finish with the opening and games, now that we finish with the tactics, let's go to the endgames. Okay, so in this segment, I will be bringing 3 endgames that you shouldn't lose. So let's start with the first one. Your opponent has a king and a pawn, and he's trying to turn that pawn into a queen. However, this game is a draw because your opponent has an H pawn, a corner pawn. And corner pawns are very bad. All you have to do in a position like this is remain with your king on these 2 squares. Just move there. Left, right, left, right, left, right. And that's it. That is a draw. Let's take a look at it. So, king comes forward. You just move to the side. Move to the side. Move again. Yes. Your opponent moved the king and it's a draw by stalemate. Remember, if you reach a position like this, do not give up. Do not panic. Just make sure you get in front of that pawn and you just move to the left, to the right, and that is it. The game is drawn. Okay, and this brings us to our second endgame that you shouldn't panic, you shouldn't resign, and you shouldn't lose. In this case, white has a bishop, a pawn, and a king, and black only has 1 king. However, the problem here for white is that he has the wrong bishop to win this endgame. If this bishop was in a dark square, this will be an easy win for white. But with this bishop being on a light square, a different square from the square that this pawn is trying to promote to, then this game is just a draw. So let's see. White plays the move advancing the pawn, pawn to h6. Black plays king forward, bishop check, king back. Make sure you remain in front of that pawn. Don't go too far. You don't want your opponent to take the victory here. Your opponent brings the king, you move to the side, he checks you, you go back to the side, he moves the bishop, you move to the side, and there is nothing to do. There is no way for white to make progress in this position. He plays now king to g5, but the only move that you could play is king to g7. No problem. He moves back, you go back here. He advances and is a draw by stalemate. So notice, if your opponent has a king, a pawn, and a bishop of the wrong color, then it's also a draw. Let's go to the next position. Okay, so we have reached to the last in game of our segment Chess 333. Remember, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please go ahead and do so. You could do it right now. I'll wait for you for about 3 seconds. All you have to do is hit like, hit subscribe, and that's it. So now, let's take a look at this endgame. Another endgame that you shouldn't lose. But you are pawned on. How can you save this one? This is not a rook pawn. This is not a corner pawn. How can you save this from losing? So the key here is called opposition. And by opposition, I'll make it very simple. Just block the opponent's king from entering. So the first move here is the move king to d7. For position, we just step straight back. Notice when you're in front of the pawn, always step straight back. And you wait for the opponent to try to come in with his king. When he tries to come in with the king, you face the king and you block the king from entering. So the king cannot enter into the position. This will leave him with no choice but to push the pawn. When he pushes the pawn, you block the pawn. He protects the pawn, and guess what you do now? Yes, you guessed it. You step straight back and you wait for your opponent's king to come in. When he brings the king in, then you face the king. You block the king from doing anything. He pushes the pawn, you hide in front of the pawn, and then that ends up in stalemate and a draw. So well guys, this is all for today. It has been nice working with you. I hope that you learn new things today. I hope that you try the Scotch Gambit, and I hope that you practice this in games so that you will not lose in these cases. Okay guys, bye bye. See you next time.